About a month ago, my friend Ben Brown and I did what I dubbed the Three Bridge Fiasco Part 2. This was the 50-mile march across all three bridges of San Francisco Bay, the Bay Bridge, the Richmond-San Rafael, and of course everyone's favorite, San Francisco's crown jewel, the Golden Gate Bridge, built in 1937 and celebrating its, that would be 73rd birthday on May 27th. This is something that no one's ever done before, walking across all three bridges, and my previous attempt, which fell short of the Three Bridge Fiasco, that's actually how it got the name, the Three Bridge Fiasco, is that I stopped short. When I got to the Golden Gate Bridge, it turned out that it was closed due to suicide precautions. They don't allow people on the bridge basically after dark. So this was sort of the end of winter, and by 9 o'clock when I got there, 40 miles in, it was shut, and I pleaded with the gatekeeper. I said, please, let me in. I've been marching since 10 a.m. Can you just make an exception? And no luck. So I decided to do it again, this time with some reinforcements, and Ben was the only person that signed up because it happened that this whole coronavirus outbreak was just beginning, and so people were encouraged to stay home, although there was this exception made for exercise. Walking, in fact, is probably the best all-around form of exercise that there is, after swimming maybe. And I have a technique that I've developed from different methodologies, from Georges Hebert's natural method, which was used to train members of the French Navy to be battle ready at all times. You had to be able to march and do it efficiently. So Hebert talks about lengthening the stride and making your steps kind of longer and slower, where you really maximize each stride and the distance between your feet. And there's a rhythm that you fall into where your legs kind of start to feel like these pendulums, and the further out you swing them, the more you go and the more you're powered through. But there's also the component of pushing off with your back leg, and this I took from Esther Gocley's glide walking. Esther Gocley is best known for her posture course, and it's based on sort of primitive populations and how they carry themselves upright without the problems that we seem to have here in the West with slouching and sitting at desks all day. But the overarching theme of the 50-mile march is just that. It's combating the sedentary lifestyle, and it was inspired by Teddy Roosevelt's strenuous life initiatives, including his 50-mile march directive that he gave to his army officers. And then the banner was taken up by JFK, who noticed the same thing that Roosevelt had some 50 years earlier, which is that the American people had become soft. Whether it was peacetime or just increasing prosperity in the United States, we were becoming soft Americans, as JFK put it. And so he challenged, again, his army officers to be able to complete a 50-mile march. And whereas Teddy Roosevelt gave his officers 3 days, JFK said, I want you to do it in 1 day, 16 hours. And so that's what some of them did. Robert Kennedy, his brother, who was then Attorney General, was just about the only person within his administration that took up this banner and marched the full 50 miles. And he did it in Oxford shoes, no less, those sort of pointy-toed, picture just a shiny dress shoe. And it was also winter there, so he was walking through slush and sludge. So that's an impressive accomplishment, and it makes my 50-mile march across the three bridges in the temperate season here in the San Francisco Bay Area seem a little bit less impressive. But there were a few things that I noticed while I was walking the two times. First, the 40-mile fiasco, and then the part 2, when we did successfully make it around all three bridges in just about 16 hours for a total of 50 miles. The first is that the exhaustion kind of comes in waves. I shouldn't say exhaustion because that implies some sort of complete failure, but the fatigue comes in waves, and so you'll be going along just fine, and then you'll sort of hit a wall. And I think this is mostly psychological. So if you hit a long stretch that's particularly monotonous, that will have a psychological effect, and you'll feel like, oh, if I could just get through this. But if you generally keep up the pace, if you have a good companion who's good conversation, then the time actually flies by. And I was lucky that Ben and we have sort of an ongoing conversation about, what's causing this modern malaise, what's causing people to just sort of sit and almost like they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And particularly while we're sheltering in place, it's like we're waiting for Godot, waiting for the government to do what exactly? To reopen the economy, to give us a permission slip to go outside. I reject that. I think that we all have as our natural inheritance the right to go outside, and so far that hasn't been contradicted here in Northern California, although I've heard about people in other areas getting citations just for being out walking. I am generally maintaining the social distancing guidelines, but I think that the 50-mile march encourages small groups of people who are maybe already sheltered in place with one another to go out and explore farther than you've been in your area. Walk the roads and find out, if there's a long trail, maybe the Appalachian Trail. I'm going to be doing it again on May 29th. That is JFK's birthday, what would be, I don't know, his 100th birthday or something. And I want to honor his memory, his legacy, which did call Americans to something higher. Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. So as we're all waiting for someone else to come in and save the day, be that person who sort of breaks the taboo in a safe way and restarts life and starts to reintroduce new patterns of behavior that might be even healthier than what we were doing before this whole lockdown. So I'll be doing this again, and I'm encouraging people to join me with a cap of 10 people, just because that seems to be sort of the restriction, under 10 people and you're not a large event by any means. We're going to be doing it in, again, about 16 hours. It'll be summertime, so we'll have daylight virtually the entire time. And if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area or happen to be planning a trip out here at the end of May, I hope you'll join along. Details will be found at the website that I run, which is anaturalmethod.com, based off of the natural method, or La Méthode Naturelle, of Georges Hebert. It's time that we brought back a robust physical culture. And this culture has been revived at different times and places, but it really goes all the way back to our primal roots. And there's nothing more ancient than the technology of our bodies, which is capable of so much more than we realize when we're locked down and sitting in front of our screens all days. So I'm also giving away a free guide that shows you how to pilot your body when you're walking long distances, when you're marching, and it breaks down the different steps steps, no pun intended, that I've learned from the giants, people like Esther Goclé and Georges Hebert. I'm truly standing on their shoulders. And there's another biomechanical guru of sorts named Katie Bowman, who provided a lot of the foundation for the way that I think about the human foot, as well as that whole architecture that undergirds the human stride. And you'll gain a greater appreciation for walking. As Werner Herzog said, the world opens itself up to those who travel on foot. So get out there and see your area, find out what's waiting for you on the open road. May the wind be ever at your back, and I hope to see you on the trail.